this, woke ideology is, sort of the common phrase around all of this happening. And they're looking at the numbers and saying, why are you reading this book to my child when, first of all, I want to deal with this kind of discussion at home based on my own understanding of where my child might be. And B, the numbers are plummeting. Look at this. I mean, if this isn't a failure that needs to be so much more important than whether or not you're reading a book about your pronouns. This is the Maryland rankings. Fourth graders, these same little kids who've had these books, fed to them at a very young age, their reading ranked in 2013, they were second in the nation in Maryland. 2024, 20th. Math, 16th in the nation, plummeting down to 39th. So if I were a parent in this district, I would be saying, please, leave these books out of the picture. Teach my child to read and to do math, okay? So, yes, and let's focus on why we're there.
In Florida, which is like, a lot of people look at Florida and say that is the king, that is the mother of all mothers of school choice. Their NAEP scores are the lowest. They really plummeted in the same way. Let's look at the NAEP scores in Massachusetts, which some people would say, probably on your, on your network, that those, that the Massachusetts scores or the Massachusetts schools are very much embedded in equality and diversity. So let's look at what happens in Massachusetts that really works and what happens in Florida that doesn't work. What happens in Massachusetts that works is that there is far more funding and there is a real culture of a safe and welcoming school. Well, and what we need to do is we need to actually do more of that.
So you're saying that because if we can find other areas around the country where the proficiency levels are also abysmal and should be embarrassing any education organization, that we can start to make assessments and say that, it's because of choice or it's because of money. We know that money does not equate a better outcome, because in Newark, New Jersey, you have a per student, per capita expenditure that is one of the highest in the country. And you have very difficult outcome.
Martha, sweetheart, listen to me.
Please don't call me sweetheart.
It actually does. I'm sorry. My bad. It actually does matter. And in fact, some of the most, some of the conservative folks who used to say that money doesn't matter actually have changed their mind. So the issue...
Well, they wanted to go to different programs and choice programs and be able to give it to parents who want to homeschool their kids and provide.
No. I'm talking about people who are actually been looking at these numbers and.
Wow. Ooh. Wow. All right, folks, we're going to break all of that down. What's happening? It is Wednesday and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett and Shelly E. All right. Before we dive in, please do us a favor and hit that like button. It really helps to push our video out to a broader audience. And folks, tonight we have an action-packed schedule of issues and topics to cover. So please hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe. As you know, we're here on YouTube and Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our chat. We shout out all of our super chats. It's the best way to get your voice heard in the conversation and to show your love for conservative content. This is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. I want to dig right into that interview because we need to correct the record. All right, so of course we know that they are talking about this Supreme Court case. We talked about this on Monday, I believe, yes, Monday. The course Mahmoud v. Miller that the Supreme Court is reviewing regarding whether or not Maryland school parents have the right to opt out their children from LGBT curriculum and education, particularly LGBT books in elementary school. And so that there was Fox talking to union boss Randi Weingarten. She is the union boss or chief or whatever you want to call it of the largest union in the country, I believe. And Fox News host was giving it to her. I want to start off with you, Shelley. What are your thoughts on that exchange?
Let me tell you something, Randi. A bunch of bullshit. That's what you're spewing. Your talking points may work for your teachers that support you and pay your salary for the union. But what you are also talking out of the other side of your mouth is a bunch of bullshit. Number one, let me tell you why I said that. I quickly did a little research tonight before coming to this topic, right? Did a quick little, and I'm going to say homeschoolers who, let's just say on average, don't really pay for their students to go to school because they assume the cost at home, right? Mm-hmm. On average, homeschoolers score about 15 to 20 points higher on average than your public school students on standardized tests, and maybe sometimes higher even in private schools, depending on the school, the curriculum, things like that. So that's a bunch of bull. Number two, Martha gave her Maryland, we're in the news again. Lord have mercy. Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. We went from, I think it was 16 to 39 in what, 2 or 3 years? And reading and writing, our students can't read or write, but Randi, whatever her name is, she's spewing out this bullshit. Number three, the issue at hand is, again, do parents have the right? I say they don't even need somebody's permission, okay? They don't need anybody's damn permission to tell them they can take their child out of a classroom anytime they freaking want to. But okay, it's at the Supreme Court. What Randi wants is more money, and Martha called it on her, sweetheart.
Yeah. Nicole, what are your thoughts on that exchange?
I think Randi was up against the ropes and she started going into that sweetheart, honey, that kind of patronizing Martha. And Martha was like, girl, you better ask somebody. First of all, let me tell you, she has children. And so she gets it. This is the largest teachers union in the nation, incredibly wealthy. And if she had her way, teachers would be in the classroom twice a week. Your kids would be learning randomness. It would make no difference. Those scores are not tied to her paycheck. Those scores aren't tied to any teacher's paycheck. This is not a thing where she's saying, give us more money and we'll show you what we can do. We've given schools more money. We've given schools a ton of money. You're talking about Maryland. Here in Maryland, if you travel the state and talk to everybody in all of the counties, except for Baltimore City, they will tell you we spend way too much money educating Baltimore City students and having zero outcomes, absolute monstrous outcomes. And then we have smaller school systems that have less, but their test scores are higher. Money does not equate success when it comes to education. That's been proven over and over and over again. But she wants to talk to you about, well, you give us more money and we'll do a better job. Randi, we've given you enough money. You're not getting not near another nickel, sister. Not one. The Department of Education and Linda McMahon, they're going to bring her to bear. And I think what she's feeling now is that she's going to have to go out and kind of do the circuit to make people believe that America's not investing enough in the teachers who only want to be in the classroom 50, maybe 60% of the time. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd love to go to work 50, maybe 60% of the time for more money. I would love that as a private person. But when you're educating our nation's future, we need you to be serious, folks. And she is not a serious woman.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with both of you ladies. So let's correct the record, because I was shocked when I actually looked up the numbers, because she was bold-faced lying. So they are referring to the National Assessment of Educational Progress, NAEP. They were looking at the numbers, particularly for Maryland rankings out of 50 states. They were looking at 4th grade reading and math rankings in 2013 compared to 2024. So in 2013 for Maryland, in reading, we ranked second. Now we rank 20th. For math, in 2013, we ranked 16th. Now we rank 39th. But she mentioned Florida. Now, you guys know I go crazy over Florida. And when she said what she said, I was like, that doesn't sound right, because I thought towards the beginning of this year or at the end of last year, DeSantis was praising how well that their state had done for reading and math. So sure enough, I looked it up and she was lying. The same ranking. So for reading in grade 4 in 2013, Florida ranks out of 50 states number 8. In 2024, this is according to the NAEP, it ranked number 10. So it did slide, but nowhere near where everyone else is, as she tried to infer. In math, again, grade 4 in 2013, they ranked number 27 in math. In 2024, out of all 50 states, they ranked number 2 for the 4th grade. So they had no real effect. COVID had no real effect on Florida. They didn't see the slide that we've seen in states all over the country, at least what they were talking about in this segment. So the lady was just bold-faced lying.
Talking her trash.
Yeah, I want to get to the super chats, folks. Thank you guys so much. All right, let's see here. All right, we have, let me see here. Okay, Chadwick with the $5 super chat says, wishing Trey's Chocolate City a happy birthday. Yes, happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, Trey's.
Happy birthday.
Right. Tijuana Border Jumper with the $5 super chat says, good evening, ladies. Yes, good evening. Thank you all so much. The super chats do go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. And if you love the truth, if you love facts, please hit that like button. Again, it helps to increase our viewership here, helps to push our video out to a larger audience. So what did you, I know you want to say something, Shelly.
Yeah, another thing. On average, this is average across the country. The United States pays about $17,000-$18,000 for public school per student. In Maryland and Baltimore, we pay a little bit more than that, maybe closer to 20,000, 19, okay, rounded off to 20. And we're getting these results. We're getting these results. So in her logic, she's saying, oh, more money will make it better. Well, actually, we've given more and we've gotten less. We've gotten worse. Our children can't read or write. But giving her more, or giving students more, if you will, we have a new blueprint bill or policy that's coming up, like Nicole was alluding to, where teachers are going to be in the classroom about 60% of the time. In that bill, they also get a raise. Yes, they also get a raise even at the starting salary. They get a raise, so they're getting paid to be out of the classroom and for more time out of the classroom with the results that we're getting. Who's going to be teaching the children? But you know what they will have? They'll have more money to pay her more union dues. That's what they're going to have, so that she can go on shows and try to run over Martha, which she can't, because Martha is a veteran.
Martha's here for that.
Okay, and she called her with that, like you said, that patronizing. I'm sick of these people. I'm sick of it. You know what? I generally am live and let live, except for when it comes to children and murderers. Okay, those are my broad categories, my two main categories. But people like her, because she is attacking it by default, she's attacking, and actively she is harming children. And I will stand in the gap.
You know, I think you're absolutely right, Shelley. I think another thing that we should look at when we're talking about increasing the amount of revenue that goes into schools and education, we need to make sure the money actually gets to the teacher. When you look at this administrative state that they've built in, you know, you have the superintendent and all of the miniature superintendents, then the associates and assistants, and they're multi-million-dollar people. This is multi-million-dollars worth of spending. Then you get down to the teacher who's in the classroom who may only make $60,000 or $70,000, but has the most important job. She'll be able to pick your child out of a lineup. You know, if we had a group of kids, let's say 2 kids from every school in Baltimore City, and we got the superintendent and said, okay, pick the one that goes to this particular elementary school, Mr. Multi-million dollars or Miss Multi-million. Tell me which one. We're spending the money in the wrong place. If we could, you know, invert the pyramid a little bit and make sure that the people who spend the time with the students are paid well. We want our teachers to be paid well, but we don't want our teachers to be paid, you know, so little as compared to the people who are sitting in their offices kind of pontificating all day. We have to get some parity when it comes to education. It can't continue to be top heavy. We just can't continue at that pace.
Absolutely, Nicole. I totally agree. Folks, we are going to continue to follow this case. As of today, based off of the comments by most of the judges, the justices, I should say, it looks like they are favoring the parents. It looks like they are, but we got to wait and see until the decision comes out. I am going to be covering this a little bit deeper tomorrow on Christian Conservative. So you definitely should check that out tomorrow on KJ Christian Conservative right here on YouTube at 9 p.m. We're going to really do a deep dive into the justices, the questions that they're asking, and how the plaintiffs and the state are responding to them.
KJ, I got one thing to say.
Oh, yes.
If the justices, I guess, make an opinion that goes against the parents, I want our audience to hear it here. I say break the law. Parents, break the law. This is a time to break the law. Those are your kids. They have zero authority to tell you. You can't even opt out, no less. Break the law.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So we are moving right along, folks. We got like I said, we have an action-packed topics for you all tonight. So we're going to get back into the politics, but since we're talking about kids, we got to get into Shannon Sharpe. So take a look at this video.
You can't say that segue.
Take a look at this video of comedian Monique. So, you know, Monique, the comedian, she was, she was arguing, but she was going at it with Netflix. She has been all over the news about that. She's actually from Baltimore, here where we are, Baltimore, Maryland. But she was on Club Shay Shay. I think this was last year. Mm-hmm. And she warned him. He's an NFL Hall of Fame player. She warned him to leave young women alone. She was telling him that it's better for him to date women of his age and maturity level. Take a look. Well, she was foreshadowing something. Take a look here. This is clip 2.
To us, how this dating thing, because this is Mo is different now than when you and I.
It's different, baby. I'm grateful I'm not 56 and trying.
What you trying to say? What you trying to say? Mo?
I'm looking right at you.
I know you looking at me.
I ain't backing down. You better take your old ass and get somebody to love you.
Damn, Mo.
Now I'm looking right at y'all. Let me tell y'all what Shannon needs.
Let me
tell you what my baby needs. He need him an old fat gal who can bake good cakes, make some smothered turkey wings, who gonna rub his feet at the nighttime, okay, and gonna have a sip of his cognac to make him feel better about himself when he come home at night. That's what Shannon needs. You don't need no 26-year-old girl. You don't need no 36-year-old girl.
I know.
This is your auntie talking to you. Take your old ass and get you an old bitch out there that can love you old. You're trying to hang out with these young bitches and you can't do it, Shannon. You just can't do it.
Damn.
When they want you to go for the 4th round, you looking at her like, bitch, listen, you want some money to go to Starbucks?
Yeah,
because I can't go no further. But if you get your older girl, when you get to that 4th round, she's going to say, hold on. Let me go get you some eggs and cheese and some toast with apple butter, because that's going to get your energy back up. I'm talking right to you. Shit. So he thought I was going to be scared to say, yes, I'm talking. And I know an old gal, she'd be good to you.
All right. So the chickens have come to
apple butter.
Okay.
No, not the name. What you say her name? Eldora?
Yeah. He didn't listen. He didn't listen. And so we want to get into that. Before we do, I want to acknowledge our super chatters here, folks. Thank you so much. Trey's Chocolate City.
Hey, happy birthday!
Happy birthday. Thank you so
birthday.
much. The $20 super chat says, because it's my birthday, you queens and the chat are making my day special.
Because you
thank
are
you.
special.
You are super special.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. All right. And Laura, thank you, says, hello, everybody. Hello,
Hey,
Laura.
Laura, we missed you. Hey, Laura.
Yes, and
Hi,
thank you
Laura.
again, Trey. Thank you so much. All right, so let's get into this because I've been waiting to get into this really over the last 2 days.
You know what? Tell the story, KJ. Tell the story. How spicy you was in the chat.
So for you guys who may not have been following this, because again, we generally cover politics. It is pop culture, pop and politics. A bombshell lawsuit has been filed accusing Shannon Sharpe of sexual abuse, sending shockwaves through the world of sports and media. Shannon Sharpe, he's a former NFL star and current ESPN commentator, is facing a $50 million lawsuit, civil lawsuit, filed in Nevada by a woman identified as Gabriella Zuniga. We have a photo of her, photo 1. The lawsuit alleges that during their nearly 2-year relationship, Sharpe engaged in multiple instances of sexual assault, including the R word. This is what he's accusing her of, and recorded intimate encounters without her consent. This is her. Zuniga, or Gabriella Zuniga, claims that Sharpe's behavior was controlling and abusive, citing incidents where he allegedly threatened her and refused to respect her boundaries. Sharpe has vehemently denied the allegations, labeling the lawsuit a shakedown. This is her. Now, when they first met, she was 19 years old. She is now, I believe, 20 or 21. Before we really get into this, I want to put out Shannon's response, because he has responded to this stuff. Here is clip 3. Take a look.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Buzbee, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Buzbee targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly, on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Buzbee want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
All right. So he was saying that this is a shakedown. Now, it's so much a shakedown. His attorney, Lanny Davis, stated that Sharpe actually offered Gabby, as he calls her, the OnlyFans prostitute, $10 million settlement during mediation. So before she came forward to the public, Sharpe offered her a $10 million settlement, which she declined. I guess she said, this is not enough. So here we are. Nicole, I want to start off with you. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you believe him?
There's so much going on. You know, it's hard to tell. And truth be told, he's a grown man, a couple of times a grown man. And she was on OnlyFans as a grown person doing grown lady things. And I think their relationship was very much give and take. But my takeaway from this is just two very simple things. One, and this may sound racist to some people, so follow me into the rabbit hole. Black folk, we got to stop talking to people who are not black like they're black. Really? Because in one of the tapes, he tells her, you keep it up, I'm going to choke this out of you, right? Now, as Black people, we've heard this over and over again. This is a part of some vernacular when people get angry. I could choke the shit out of that person, blah, blah, blah. It's not that he was planning to literally choke the stuffing out of her. And she well knew that, because this ain't the first Black guy that she's hooked up with. Probably won't be the last, but no shame. I don't kink shame people. Whatever her thing is, let it be.
No.
Yeah.
Let it be
He
her
meant
thing.
to choke. He was going to choke her. She likes that. We saw it play. The news has said that she liked to be choked. She liked rough kink.
She liked a lot. She wanted a dog collar.
Yeah,
she wanted to be.
He probably was going to choke her, but I don't think she did. I think she actually liked. I think they were doing some type of role play or whatever.
But that's what they're saying now. But KJ, when that first broke, people were like, he was planning to choke her. You know, we can't say everything to everybody. Let's just take a look back at this. And I hate to even bring it up, this Carmelo Anthony case, when he was telling the young man, touch me and see what happens to you. And we say that, Black people say that all the time. Other cultures don't interpret it the way that we mean it. Not saying that it wasn't a threat. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that's a warning. That's a warning shot. That's not the last salvo, but that's the first salvo. There's usually some hand claps after that and some bucking and carrying on. But you got to stop assuming that people understand what you mean when you use vernacular that's just made for us. Because what's happening to Shannon is she's taking all of these text messages and all of these things that he said to her, and now he's turning it into this very liberal media, and they're making big deals out of things that seem pretty much commonplace between two freaky people who are having an adult relationship.
As they should.
Exactly.
And if he said it to a white girl, then he felt like if it was a situation where he felt like I only can say this stuff, but he said it to a white girl, so we're gonna take it how he said it. I feel that way. If he, I don't agree with that at all.
I'll tell you now, KJ, this language barrier is going to be the death of these men. It is absolutely going to be the death of these men. Here's another situation. Even when Jay-Z was going through it when Tony Busby was chasing after him, he had that same situation. Language counts, folks. You have to be careful what you say to people, because certain people are going to use it against you. You got a girlfriend from 19 years old at OnlyFans that you met at a gym. He met her at the gym. This man has enough money that he could fly around the world and find him a side piece that's willing to do whatever he likes done to him for pennies on a dollar.
Well, this is the issue. This is the issue.
Why put yourself in harm's way? My second point, he played professional football, and this is a very serious point. And Shelly, I'm sure you'll have some information about this too. These are men who've gotten hit in the head a lot, and their older age years. Hear me out, KJ. Their older age years, they're going to need specialty care. They're going to be demented. They're going to have problems and issues and whatnot. Why are
you try real hard?
I'm trying to stomp for my boy. I'm trying. I'm trying.
Oh no!
I'm not mad at you. I ain't mad at you, but I know you trying.
I'm trying to stomp for my boy, because the long and the short of it is these are two freaky people who are having what probably happens in Hollywood a lot, a bickering argument. He offered her 10. She probably would have took it, except for he's about to sign a bigger contract for that show of his, and she wants more money. And here we sit. Now everybody's dropping text messages and little snippets of videos, and he's talking to his mom and them and people like me. And I'm going, come on, Shannon. Come on. Bro.
So Shelly, what are your thoughts on what we've heard so far?
Look, this is what I'm going to say when I thought about this. If you're going to be an OnlyFans, whatever you want to call it, you call it a prostitute, a worker, be an OnlyFans worker. I say she should have got paid along the way. She shouldn't have to wait this long to get her 50 million.
She probably was getting paid.
I'm just saying, she should have gotten paid for whatever services she provided along the way. That's number one. Now, he said he was going to choke her. She was going to choke the chicken. Whatever. I don't know. But I mean, this is just crazy. I don't know if he actually raped her or not. Allegedly, These are all allegations, right? I do believe that this is a shakedown. I do. I really believe that the attorney, Busby, I think his name is, he's gone after so many people. He's like what do we used to call him? Ambulance chaser.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of that. And he also reminds me a little bit of, I think it's Michael Cohen, who was Stormy whatever her name is, Stormy's attorney. And he kept going back and forth after Trump. Look, these are two adults. Sure, she was a young woman or 20-year-old, 19, whatever. But Monique gave him some good advice. Yes. Did he take it? No. Okay, whatever. But I'll say, if you're gonna be an OnlyFans fan, be one. Just get paid along the way.
Well, first of all, no one said she wasn't. I'm sure she was. He was not with her for her mind. As we can see in the audio, this woman speaks like a child. Take a look. This is clip 4 audio.
Well, what, Gabby?
Well, you're coming to LA tomorrow?
Yes.
Well, I don't know why you want to go out.
Don't worry about it, Gabby.
Well, okay.
Okay, what?
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah. I might choke you in public. Big black guy chokes small white woman.
It's not a good look, Shannon.
Not a good look that you did what you did to me.
Okay, well...
Well, what?
This man makes me sick. They both make me sick. But this old grandpa, this man is old enough to be her father and her grandfather, okay? And he makes me sick. And I hope, please, take him for everything he got, but his accent. Take him for everything he got. He deserves it because he knew this is what happens when you deal, and I'm taking it Christian conservative, you deal outside your covenant, number one. And number two, you deal in this type of situation. You deal with this type of kink and all of this type of stuff outside of your covenant. If you want to be a freak with your wife or your husband or whatever, be that. But this man chose this 19-year-old because he knew that she would do and say whatever he wanted her to say. And he should really be embarrassed and publicly shamed. Both of them should. But you lay down with dogs, you come up with fleas. And so when he chose to mess with this type of OnlyFans whore, then this is what he's gonna get. He probably was paying her all along. Then he got the shit. She said what he was doing wasn't enough. She asked for more. He didn't want to give what she asked for. And now she said, I'm going to go public. She wants to go for the gusto. And I hope she gets every penny.
Yeah. It's interesting. I'm looking at the chat, and it's interesting. Just from what I can see on a cursory level, it seems that more of the women are against her, and more of the men are taking Shannon's side to some degree. It's interesting how that breakdown goes. Look, I'm with you to a degree. I don't know. Again, I'm not gonna say he raped her. I'm not saying that's those are allegations. Right. I'm saying she may have gotten paid. I'm saying she should have gotten more. And they do. He sounds stupid. She sounds drugged. It's just all over the place. Whatever. Again, I don't know about the if he meant the literal choking. Maybe he did. Maybe it was kinky stuff. But these are the kind of things that used to not be in public. Even if you were doing whatever, if you were doing wrong or whatever, you didn't put this out in the public. You handled your business. So I don't even have a problem with him settling. That happens all the time. It's just stupid to me. Again, like I said, whatever. She should have gotten more along the way, and then maybe she would have just quietly left him alone. But I think he did put himself in this position.
He absolutely put himself in this position.
I can't say she should have gotten more because I personally don't agree with selling yourself to someone for sex. I just don't agree with it.
That doesn't mean she shouldn't have gotten more.
I think she shouldn't have gotten anything. I think she, she's whatever amount that she got or didn't get. To me, it's not worth it. It's not enough because your body is not for sale. But again, you mentioned something about how guys you on his side and women seem like they're on her side in the chat. Stephen A. Smith came out and talked about it, and I was really surprised because they are co-anchors on ESPN. I want to get your thoughts on this, Nicole, when we play this. This is clip 5.
Let me be very, very clear about where I'm coming from. I'm a bit torn in terms of his response. On one hand, Tony Busby has sued Jay-Z. He did sue Diddy. He did accuse them or represented the woman who was accusing them of assault, of sexual assault, and said that she was 13 years of age at the time when talking about Jay-Z and Diddy, and Jay-Z went ballistic and emphatically denied it, wouldn't let it go. The case was dropped, and now he's suing Busby, mentioning words like extortion and other things. So when she, who obviously should be presumed innocent, not just because you should be presumed innocent until found guilty, but because of the manner in which he fought on his own behalf and has been very aggressive in going after Tony Busby. In the case of P. Diddy, you don't know what to believe. Again, the case against Jay-Z was a civil suit. Diddy was a civil suit. But in Diddy, you don't know what to believe because of all the allegations he's facing. But we can't forget that Tony Busby was also the person that represented at least 24 of the 27 women that accused Deshaun Watson of sexual misconduct along with other allegations. And at least 23 of those cases were settled. So we have an obligation to mention that.
Absolutely. And Nicole, before I get you in on this is not the first time Shannon has faced such allegations. In 2010, a woman named Michelle Bundy filed a restraining order against him, accusing him of sexual assault and threats. The restraining order was later dismissed and no charges were filed. So we want to put that out there just to get everything out. But what are your thoughts on what Stephen A. Smith said?
I think Stephen A. Kind of laid out the history of this particular attorney and what Shelley was saying. He's an ambulance chaser of sorts. I guess you would call him a hoe chaser because he takes these men and says, oh, you were with Diddy. Let me help you with this lawsuit. It is sure easy money, though. I'll give him that. At least it's smart because these celebrities are going to pay just to keep it quiet. This $10 million that she could have walked away with was for her to keep her mouth shut. The bigger question, and I'm sure we'll probably get around to it eventually, is how many other women have been paid their $10 million? Because you know what's going to happen. If any kind of inkling that people get that this woman's going to get anywhere near that $50 million, everybody and their mother's going to come out of the woodwork and say, well, he did this to me, he did that to me. It's a slippery slope. And this is why this type of behavior, I just don't quite understand why you would risk everything for some girl sticking her fist up her butt on the internet. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
I'll tell you why, Nicole. I'll tell you why. This is what I was going to say. So I think it was Kobe Bryant who said many years ago, he talked about how when you are a celebrity and you get to a certain level of celebrity, there is nothing really that you can't have as far as sexual, as far as, women. He used to say how they would go into cities and women would be lined up at their hotels waiting for them. And it's any and everything you want, you can have. And so what happens is with many of these men, they get to a point where the money, the influence, you can have whatever you want and you get bored. You get tired. And then a lot of times, this is why so many of them turn DL, because they have had so many types of freaky situations. Anytime women will do any and everything they ask or want anything you can think of. The access is numerous and enormous. And
Right.
so they will do whatever and anything. And so then it's always, what else can I do? What else can I see? What else can we do? And so this is why this type of lifestyle is sort of on the demonic side, because it is catering to the flesh. And this is why it goes against the design God has for our lives, because it breeds chaos. This is not what we were meant to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But to Kobe, God rest his soul, Kobe. This is not new. Kobe was Kobe was saying this is nothing new. I'm just saying any celebrity. That's number one. But even on equal grounds with Kobe, President Trump told us that hey, you can just whatever he said, touch the pussy or whatever he said, whatever the so this is nothing new. I'm not co-signing it. I'm not disagreeing with it. All I'm saying is that
you said she should got paid. She should have gotten more money.
If that was her job, she should have gotten paid more. Then maybe she wouldn't have to be suing with this ambulance chase. That's what I'm saying.
Sued anyway. This is the point of what I was saying. This type of lifestyle. This that was my point. I get it. More.
Get it. That was my point. My point was, I'm saying from an economic perspective, that was my point. I get that. All in all, again, I'm not necessarily going to, I don't know, I think Stephen A. Smith was, I guess I'm going to say balanced, if that's the right word. I'm not necessarily going to wish for Shannon to be shook down any more than I'm going to wish for this woman to be tarred and feathered with a scarlet letter. I'm not going to do either. These are allegations.
Shook down the equivalent of tarred and feathered?
I said I'm not going to wish for Shannon Sharpe to be shook down any more than I'm going to wish for this woman to be tarred and feathered. I'm not.
What about consequence?
I'm not going to say.
What about consequence?
What about what?
What are the consequences?
What are the consequences? They're going to play out. They're going to play out legally, maybe personally.
You believe that there should be no consequence for this type of behavior?
What consequence should it be for them? They will face their own consequences. There's no legal consequence, or what is it?
Right now we see that the legal consequence is she is suing him, and he may have to pay.
That's one of the consequences. They're living out their consequences. There's nothing else that I can add to it from a moral perspective. Again, I don't have the tar and feather. I don't have the scarlet letter. What more? Their consequences are playing out. I'm not going to stand on a moral high ground and say, I wish more, beat them, whatever. No, they're going to play out legally and personally, whatever that may be.
Right. I agree. Okay. I mean, nobody, I don't want anybody to be, I never said I want anybody to be beaten or anything like that. But, I mean, if he has to pay, then he'll have to pay.
The truth be told, and this might be a hot take, this is working out pretty good for both of them. Let's just call it what it is. Now everybody's talking about Club Shay Shay. Everybody's talking about Shannon Sharpe. And this girl, Gabby, her OnlyFans is off the chart. She's making more money than she's ever made. This may be a boon for both of them. The problem is that, again, it may just be the beginning. It may not be just a one-off. This may be the beginning of Shannon Gate, like we had Diddy Gate. We don't know what's going to come next, or if he was smart enough to have NDAs with all these other women, and these women have happily gone off into the sunset. But it's interesting to me to see their dynamic in, quote unquote, what they called their relationship. They were dysfunctional from the jump. I mean, what it seems like to me, these were just two freaks who got together, did some adult freaky things. And it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I agree there too. It is what it is. And so the consequences shall fall where they may. So we will continue to follow this story. And folks, sound off in the chat. What do you think should happen here? Do you think he did it? Do you think it's a shakedown, as he says? Do you think he should pay? Do you think he should be absolved of it? And hopefully she's sued, because now he is filing a countersuit for defamation. So she may be on the line for paying. So we will certainly follow this story. Sound off in the chat and make sure you hit that like button, folks. We have so many people in the chat, and we want to make sure we have you guys liking this broadcast so it can get out to more and more people. Do we have any super chats here? Let me see here. All right. Oh, Chadwick says, now, KJ, you wanted off with his head earlier. Stand on business. Yeah, I mean, I personally want him to pay. I hope that she's able to get a lot of money. A lot of money. I do hope she is able to do that because I don't feel sorry for him at all. But no, not any type of violence or anything. No, I didn't want that. All right. Thank you guys so much. All right. We are moving right along to 60 Minutes. So the longtime head of CBS's 60 Minutes resigned yesterday as the network's parent company contemplates a settlement with President Trump over his lawsuit, focusing on an interview the show did with the then Vice President Kamala Harris last fall. We all saw that. In an emotionally charged meeting Tuesday afternoon, according to NPR, and again in a note to staff released publicly shortly after, the show's executive producer, Bill Owens, said he was departing after 37 years with CBS News, following months of heavy-handed treatment of the show by corporate leaders. Owens, only the third leader of the show in its more than half-century history, did not explicitly cite Trump. But the president's open rancor towards 60 Minutes looms over all. So, want to get into that, and this is Morning Joe, MSNBC's Mika Brzezinski, responding to the chief resigning. This is clip 6.
Here at the airport, I'm about to board my flight for San Salvador. The goal of this mission is to let the Trump administration, to let the government of El Salvador know that we are going to keep fighting to bring Abrego Garcia.
He said he was not able to make that happen. He said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. Trump administration is lying about Abrego Garcia.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
In part, over the past months, it has become clear that I would not be allowed to run the show as I have always run it. So, having defended this show and what we stand for from every angle, over time with everything I could, I am stepping aside so the show can move forward. Owen's departure comes months after President Trump sued CBS for $20 billion after an October interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris Trump claims the interview was deceptively edited. The network has denied that claim. Trump has also called for CBS to lose its broadcast license. Joining us now, editor-in-chief for Semaphore, Ben Smith. You have a lot going on there, Ben, but let's talk about this first. I think this news at least hit the media community like a meteor. That was a message that Bill Owens was sending about what's happening at CBS. So what's happening at CBS?
Yeah, I mean, well, this was the latest in a series of, essentially capitulations by media companies to pressure from President Trump. What's different from the environment in which we've operated for most of our careers, in which, by the way, there have been our share of media scandals and screw-ups and firings and quitting, is that the way it is happening now is there's pressure on the owners of media companies, whether it's Jeff Bezos at the Washington Post, Patrick Soon-Shiong in Los Angeles, feeling pressure on their other interests to not annoy President Trump and changing their editorial policies, their content as a result. We reported last.
Bravo. Another one that I'm happy that there's pressure here, because they need to be pressured, because the media coverage has been biased and awful over the last several years. Shelley, what are your thoughts on that exchange on Morning Joe and the CBS owner stepping down?
Look, it's a wash with me. I don't really care that he steps down. However, I'm going to make some of you upset. I've said this many times when we were talking about during the election cycle. I don't want news stations or people to be put off their platforms. I don't want them to be fired or closed down because I don't happen to agree with them. Can I admit that they are biased? Yes. Do I want my side to be able to refute their arguments? Yes. I don't want to become on the conservative side where we're saying, sue them, shut them down. Why? Who are we going to have? We're only going to have ourselves to hear from. I don't want a choir, if you will, or an echo room. I want to have that debate and push back the discussions. Lying is one thing. Everybody has a bias. President Trump, I don't even necessarily know that he should have sued them. I'm glad that he did in a sense that to bring this all out. Yes, I am. I think it's a waste of time right now. I want him to do so much more, but to bring out whatever the truth was behind that clip, I'm all for that. The guy leaving, okay, that's neither here nor there to me. But no, I'm not one of the conservatives on my side that's saying shut them down, beat everybody or hang them up. No, I'm not. I want to have the discussion. I want to be able to debate, and I want to shut these people up because we tend to bring the facts and the truth. That's what I want to do.
So, Nicole, what are your thoughts here?
I'm glad he's leaving. Look, I'm glad he's leaving. 60 Minutes used to be a show where you could get the truth of a matter, right? This was the gold standard from a journalism standpoint. And over, I would say, the last 10, 15 years, it has become, another arm of the Democrat Party. It has sunken so low that they need new leadership. They need someone to come in and kind of shake it up. I also understand that she's trying to sell it off because it's an asset. The name is venerable, right? People would pay a lot of money for that 60-minute moniker. But Shelley has a valid point. We don't want to live in an echo chamber. We want to have thoughtful dialogue, robust debate. That makes the nation great, right? However, if all it's going to be is lies, innuendo, and absolute trash, yeah, let's just be off with their heads. Let's just be done with it. My hope is that they'll bring in someone a little bit more moderate, someone who's going to stand on journalistic integrity. That's going to be important. Because that interview with Kamala Harris was heavily edited. When they showed you what she said versus the edited portion, she didn't even answer that question with that answer that they put on. It was like a whole different answer that they pulled from somewhere else. When they're able to do that, it kind of raises red flags, especially in this AI environment where you can make it sound like somebody said something that they didn't say or was in a place where they weren't. We need our news programs to actually report the news. Now, 60 Minutes wants to become, like TMZ or what have you, that's different. You can be entertainment. But if you're going to be news, you're going to need to be fact-based. So if he can't manage that, he should step down.
Yes, Nicole, I wholeheartedly 110% agree with what you just said. I do not want the United States to become communist China where the mainstream media is a propaganda tool of the government. You know, it's one thing if it's an opinion news show like us, you know, opinion. But when you are able to use the mainstream media waves, you know, as a mainstream media operation, you know, that is supposed to be balanced, and you are coming on and blatantly lying. I mean, as you mentioned, that piece that they did on Kamala Harris editing that interview was disgraceful. It was not journalism at all. And they have been caught in multiple lies, not only CBS, but look what the mainstream media did during the COVID pandemic and how they blocked out any opposition to the origins of COVID. They blocked out any opposition research and data from credible doctors and scientists. It became a propaganda tool, and it was there for us 24/7 on mainstream media. That cannot happen.
Exactly.
They need to be removed. They need to be removed.
I still disagree with removing people. Again, lies is one thing, but I want to be able to retort. And you said, you know, mainstream media becoming a communist tool of the government. You're right. Most people don't want that, and I don't want it to become communist conservatives either, dictating what other people, because you happen to be conservative, you can't say this, or if you don't say what I like, you got to get off. Then you got to get off the platform, and that's one thing. And then your second point about basically censoring particularly during the COVID time, absolutely. But guess what? Here we are on one of the channels, the platforms that did that, and yet we are using to our advantage, if you will, the platform. One of them, we haven't said no. We're on YouTube. We're still using the medium. That's my whole point. I don't want anyone else saying, whatever side, you can't come because you're on the left or you don't agree with me. Again, lies need to be refuted, and we need to have that discussion. If we shut everybody out of the market just because they're on the other side or we don't like what they say, then who are we going to have? And God forbid if it's only us, because all it's going to take is somebody to say something on our same side. Oh, I don't like them. They're not conservative enough, or they're not Republican enough. Then they're too liberal to be a Republican, and then they're going to have to get off. Where does it stop?
Well, I mean, we're talking about two different things, in my opinion.
First of all, I don't think we are.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. What I'm saying is on mainstream media, you know, they are afforded a position on the airwaves, especially media that's not opinion. They get a preferred position in media. Now, maybe that needs to stop. I don't know. We're not talking about YouTube shows. We are talking about mainstream media that is pushed out in a way where it goes out to the masses. That needs to be unbiased, and it needs to be factual. Above all, it needs to be factual.
Facts matter. We agree there.
And so when it becomes a situation where our mainstream media, where journalism, I'm not talking about opinion, I'm not talking about YouTube, I'm talking about the main airwaves, when that media is not only biased but lies, they are lying. We are turning into communist China. They have the government controls the airwaves there. They are a tool used to push out propaganda media for the government. That's dangerous. That shouldn't happen here, because what happens is, even if you have a bunch of YouTube shows and things like that, like we have, that are pushing out opposition, because they have a position on the airwaves, a preferred position, that is still going to always outnumber us for the most part. And so that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to say, oh, because somebody doesn't agree with me, take them down. But if you were given the position of preferred media, of White House credentials and all that, and you are putting out lies, they need to be removed. They need to be removed, and it goes against the FCC. It's a violation of the FCC. And so I'm happy that President Trump is suing them. And I really hope that he wins this lawsuit, because then, it's as I said in the previous segment, it's a consequence. It's, think twice next time before they start spouting out these lies. So
yeah, because they're already making plans for when they get back in power. You've seen some of his tweets where they're like, when we get back in power, I think it was Jamie Raskins who said that the nations who are lining up to do deals with Donald Trump on tariffs, when we get back in power, life's going to be hard for you. So I don't think they're going to be any different once they get their hands back on the steering wheel, so to speak.
Yeah.
So to speak.
All right. So folks, sound off in the chat. Do you agree with President Trump's lawsuit against CBS, or do you think we should let it be as it be and go as it, shouldn't no censorship? I wouldn't say this is censorship, but we should not be pressing for the truth in mainstream media. Sound off in the chat. Let us know what you think. All right. And please, as you're here tonight, please hit that like button and subscribe. All right. Let me see here. We have some super chats. Thank you guys so much.
Yay.
All right.
Wendy.
Let's see here. Wendy, says the true oligarchy is beginning to crumble, folks. Yes, indeed. Yoni, look, and you guys, she has on one of our shirts in her profile video. Yes.
Do it, Yoni.
Yanni, yes, she sent in this photo of her wearing the merch. She looks absolutely gorgeous. And so that's the mug and that's the shirt. Folks, you can get your merch right here at popandpolitics.com. No, popandpolitics.com. Live. popandpoliticslive.com.
There you go.
/shop. Oh my gosh. So definitely do that, folks, and we appreciate the support. She says, I am struggling in today's toxic society, so it's good to come to your show for a sense of normalcy. Thank you all so very much for everything y'all do. Oh, thank you, Yanni. And I hope we all, it's
tough out here.
Yeah, it is, but hold on, and I'm glad we can offer you a little bit of relief over this hour or so. All right. We're going to keep it going, folks. We got a lot to cover. So this next segment here, this is a podcaster, Jennifer Welch. She's an unhinged leftist, was going off on Rahm Emanuel about trans issues within the last election. Take a look. This is clip 7.
We were really south on kitchen table issues. We weren't really good about the family room issues.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you. 100
okay, the only room we did really well was the bathroom, and that's the smallest room in the house.
That is such bullshit. That is total bullshit. That is buying into the right-wing media narrative, and I'm so sick of Democrats like you selling out and saying this. You know who talks about trans people more than anybody? MAGA. MAGA is the most genital obsessed political party I have ever seen. Kamala Harris talked about homeownership. She talked about kitchen table issues. Trump's over there droning on about Hannibal Lecter. Are you kidding me? This is where the Democrats lose because we're playing the game with the rule book. They've ripped the rule book up and are cramming it down everybody's throat. And Democrats are upset because Joe Biden pardoned his son. We got to fucking fight. They're the gender obsessed weirdos, not us. We're the ones who fight for Social Security. We fight for Medicare. And we're not going to bully trans people. We're not going to fucking do it.
I'm not again. I'm not. Look,
fine.
Hey, let me say this: as mayor, 2016, I dealt with the bathroom issue. It's just not my. It's not my most important issue. It was dealt with, and I appropriately dealt with marriage equality, as I said.
Well, it's certainly important to the Republicans. For me, it's just important not to bully them. And I think this is
I agree with that. I'm not disagreeing.
Democrats. It upsets me. It upsets me so much because we live here in this red state, and you see the damage of it. When I see politicians that are supposed to be leaders in the Democratic Party buy into the narrative that Republicans have defined us by, instead of fighting and saying, you're the weirdos that are obsessed with it. Yeah, we're not going to bully some trans kid. And we buy into their narrative. It's why I think we lose. And I have to live in a state where rape victims can't get an abortion because of this bullshit. And so I'm going to fight till the bitter end, and I'm not going to let some MAGA moron define what progressive values are. And I think it's a really dangerous precedent, Mr. Emanuel. I'm sorry, but I have to push back. And I'm
given
not
how
some
much you talk
coastal
about
elite
living in
liberal.
Listen, I You where you choose to live, but I just got to be honest with you. You keep talking about living in this red state craziness. You know, there is U-Haul.
All right. So she was annoying, number one. And what are your thoughts on that, Shelley?
Well, first of all, this is interesting because, again, to my point about hopefully we don't have an echo chamber. Rahm Emanuel was on the left. He's on her side, but yet he's not leftist enough. He's a little too, quote unquote, too conservative even for her on the same side. That's to my earlier point, number one. Number two, James Carville, one of the most prominent Democratic leftist progressive strategists, told the Democrats that they didn't win because they were focused on everything else except for the economy and immigration. They didn't want to listen to him, and he has the accolades of winning an election for a two-term president before Bill Clinton. So, damn it, he wasn't leftist enough for them, but they want to go about their business. The fact of the matter is, if being, what'd she say, bullies? I think she said being too conservative or bullies.
Weird.
Whatever she said.
Bullies,
If it has to do with protecting children, then I will gladly be the bully to stand in the gap again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nicole, what are your thoughts there on her tirade?
Typical. The funny thing about it is people who know Rahm Emanuel from politics, he's very much a Chicagoan, right? Very much a Chicagoan. He is the reason why we had Barack Obama. He's a tough guy. He's no shrinking violet, but to see him just he kept trying to get in, sat back. Kept trying to get in the setback. They're in certain circles, they're talking about him making a presidential run.
Right.
Is this the beginning of the softer, gentler Rahm Emanuel? Probably not. He just wanted to get off the show. Girl, have your moment, and I'm getting off your show. Don't ask me back again. She had a whole meltdown about our obsession with genitalia. Can I tell you, I know many, many, many Republicans. Many conservatives. And I don't think I've ever heard in any of those conversations, any questions or topics about transgenders or their genitalia. It's not typically what we talk about. You go to a typical Republican Party event, you're going to talk about money for sure. You're going to talk about policy, most likely, and culture. What's going on? Nice, polite with the weather, the food, this and that, who the speaker is, blah, blah, blah. But no one stops at a Republican event and goes, let's talk about some transgender genitalia. This is the topic of the night. That's not who we are. It's their topic. They lost on it. Did Donald Trump kind of beat him over the head with it? Absolutely. A month before the election, and they thought they had Pennsylvania. You heard it all over the news. They're going to win Pennsylvania. We showed up in Pennsylvania with a picture of a transgender person on a postcard and said, this is what they want to do with your tax money. Donald Trump won Pennsylvania. Nobody likes this topic. It's not something that we talk about. You guys bring it up, we bash you on the head with it. And that's what Ron was trying to tell her, but she wouldn't shut up long enough for him to get it out of his mouth.
Yeah, I totally agree. First of all, they are obsessed with sexuality. So much so, they want our kids to hear about it. And when I say kids, I mean as young as kindergarten. They want our kids talking about sexuality. They want them in sports. They made a huge thing about these transgenders in sports. Let them play in sports. Let these biological boys play with our girls in sports. Then when Biden first declared that he was running for office, or actually when he got into office, one of the first people he had at the White House was Dylan Mulvaney.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't know what they are obsessed with transgenderism, with sexuality. They are the ones that The View, which is probably the biggest show on the left, you can't get through a week without them talking about sexuality. It's at the top of their list. Again, Kamala Harris, when she was running for office, she made history as the first vice president to visit an abortion clinic. I mean, this is sick. Let's
not forget the Easter
sexuality.
Let's not forget the Easter, what is it, Trans Day or whatever they called it.
Trans Day of Visibility, Pride Day. coming out day. It's like every other day is a day to pay homage to some type of sexual identity. It is them that is obsessed with it. And now they know, as you mentioned, Nicole, that it lost them the election. And so now they're trying to pivot. They're trying to pivot. And no, it is not working because they have so many nuts in the Democrat Party that they just can't get off. They can't get the nut off. They can't get the nut out of the way. And here's this next clip. We have this proof positive of this. The immigration stuff. Now, everybody knows most of the country was illegal immigration was at the front of mind for many people. And these Democrats, instead of focusing on, kitchen table issues, crime, things like that here, they are all flying to El Salvador to cap for an illegal immigrant. 8.
He was living in Maryland, designated MS-13 terrorist, and Donald Trump deported him. How does that make you feel?
I feel safer.
He gotta go. He gotta go.
Need to go. I mean, that's it.
But he was a father.
But he's still a terrorist.
Okay. I mean, but there's children living without fathers now.
He should have picked to choose, so he picked to be a terrorist instead of worrying about his children.
The Democrats, they want him back. They say he was wrongfully deported. He has a wife and a kid who's a citizen. They're calling this a national emergency. Is this a national emergency?
I wouldn't call it a national emergency. We got more things going on. We have more things, more fish to fry.
I just found out about it, so I don't think so. What kind of national emergency? For what? What is the emergency for?
Ain't no national emergency, no.
He was accused of hitting his wife twice and was a suspected human smuggler. Was he wrongfully deported?
No, he need to go.
If he's a smuggler, yeah, he need to be deported.
It's better to be safe than sorry.
Your senator here, Chris Van Hollen, he flew to El Salvador where this guy was deported. He met with them, had lunch with them, had margaritas on the table. What's up with your senator?
I have no idea, but I do believe that was a waste of taxpayer dollars.
You agreeing with somebody whipping their wife, terrorizing where you live, then you don't need to live here either.
Senator Van Hollen, you need to come see me, Mr. Coley, because you doing like that. You need to take care of home before you go in other states.
He went to El Salvador.
Oh, that's another country, excuse me.
What has Senator Chris Van Hollen ever done for you?
Nothing.
Nothing. For me? Nothing.
Nothing that I know of.
He ain't do me. I can admit that.
I've never even heard of this person.
Do you want Kilmar Abrego Garcia, this quote-unquote Maryland dad, living back in Maryland?
No. No.
No. No.
Not if he's doing trafficking, no. Why I want somebody like that back? No.
What is your message to the Democrats who really want him back in your community?
Why would you want that in my community? Bring it to your community and see how long you like it up there.
Leave them, or y'all go over there with them.
You're focused on the wrong thing.
If they illegal come.
Right. No. Leave them. I don't want them either. Do you want them, Shelley?
These people, look, this goes to speak to the fact that common sense, common people, regular everyday people from all walks of life, these people, I don't know, I don't even know where that was done. But
that was here in Maryland.
I don't know where, common sense will trump any policy, any, sound good bill, any big bash law, or, these photo ops when they sign in all these bill signings. Ask common folk, because that's where the rubber really meets the road, and they will tell you exactly the real deal.
Yeah. Nicole, what do you think of that video? They are saying that this guy needs to stay in El Salvador and these Democrats need to focus on us here in America, in Maryland.
I love it. I love man on the street interviews because Shelley's right. People who are politicos, we live and breathe this. This is our everyday, our all day. We want to see the policy, we're all up on it. But regular people who could care less, when you present them with some straight facts, and he didn't, gild the lily, he just told them what happened. They're like, what? Margaritas. She leaned so far back when she said margaritas, I thought she was going to topple over. She was like, margaritas. I get how just outrageous this sounds to the common person. And they're probably thinking, Why is he doing this? And we don't want him back here. Is Van Hollen going to listen to these people? No. Nope. Because it's not enough of them. And he's in what they call a safe blue seat. No one, even if we could run a tremendous Republican against him, the numbers are just against us. Even with that video, we could all walk around with Kilmar t-shirts on and with margaritas, and those Democrats are still going to vote for him in lockstep. So that's who you're seeing going over there. Democrats who are in safe seats. Democrats who are on iffy political are not going over there because that is the death knell politically. Absolutely the death knell.
Absolutely. But again, as we mentioned, the Democrats, they are infatuated with these issues that really don't have anything to do with us, with everyday Americans. And this is why President Trump won. And so, again, speaking of that, we have The View. So they recently had on, I think it was today, Eva Longoria. Now, if they're not talking about sexual identity, you know what else? You know what they're talking about? Race. Here is The View talking about DEI. This is clip 9.
Of a production company that believes in growing a pipeline of future talent in the entertainment industry. Good for you. Diversity inclusion initiatives are being stripped away, as we saw every day, from many places in the country right now. Yeah. So have you seen it happening in Hollywood, and how are you fighting against that with your production company?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's not just the media industry, but it's all industries. But I think we have to remember why DEI was created, and it was to correct historical exclusion.
That's right.
Which is not just about being Latino and Black. It's women. It's disabled. It's, it's a lot
LGBTQ
of marginalized LGBTQ plus. It's a lot of marginalized communities that never get to tell their stories. Right. So correcting that historical exclusion, and then also
why do you think they're doing that? Why do you think they're doing that?
Well, I don't know, because it's bad business.
Yeah.
It's not just a moral imperative. Like, I do it because it's morally right. I want authentic storytelling. I want the people who have lived these stories to tell them. Right. But we are creating programming for the most diverse audience ever in the history of the world.
Yes.
And so it's not just a moral imperative, it's just good business. And at the end of the day, I'm a businesswoman, so why wouldn't you want to create for the growing market, not the shrinking market?
Yes. And also, you can say it's going away. We're not going anywhere. Right. Yeah. So we're going to keep making the movies we want to make and telling the stories. And listen, if you want to say it's not happening, we'll pat your hand and say, okay.
All right. So you're making trash movies. That's what you're doing. I can't even watch a movie that was made really within the last 5 years. I have to go, if I want to have a movie night, I have to find a movie that was made no earlier than like the early 2000s, because the movies that are being made now, because they have to meet these ESG quotas about how many gays, how many trans, how many Blacks, how many what, it doesn't even make sense many times with the stories that they are creating, and they are doing this at a disadvantage to the movie. Shelley, what are your thoughts there?
This is why the Angel Studios and their productions are, topping, if not going off the charts, right? So yeah, let them keep doing what they're doing. They're not producing things that would be mass consumed by many people that families and children can go. I mean, look, children, we've all had them. We know that, they pull at your heartstrings. You take them to the store. They want everything they see. And, you might say no, and then you might cave in and give in. Well, they do those things when we take them out. They are good drags to the movies. Parents may not want to go, but okay, we're going to take little Johnny and Susie and some friends, have a good fun day. Fine. But these people with their creativity and the DEI and all this stuff, they let them keep doing it, because they're going to keep failing down. And the only reason I think that Eva can say that it's successful for her is because it's a federal grant. It's a grant. Remember, you get the taxpayer funds. That's why. So therefore, she gets the funds that go along with it, and it's not really costing her anything because the taxpayers are footing part of her bill.
Right.
Wow, that's a good point, Shelley. Nicole, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I think the chat is right. She's had significant work done to her face, and shout out to Wendy. I think Wendy had hit the nail on the head, and Laura hit the nail on the head. She's got enough money to get her work done, a new nose, some cheekbones, maybe a little shaving at the chin. With all of that said, though, what the interesting thing she said is, at the end of the day, she's a businesswoman. For her, this is just about the money. And for the studios, it's just about the money. When they started losing money and not producing blockbusters, but producing dumpster fires of movies like Snow White, right? Mm-hmm. When they're doing those kind of things, the production heads aren't saying, well, we'll just keep losing money. We'll see what's going to happen. No, they're going to change vein. They're going to self-correct because no one wants to lose their fortune making movies that only speak to a political point of view that doesn't show up to buy my product. Mm-hmm. She's right. At the end of the day, this is about business. This is not about advancing Democrat cause. As long as Democrat cause was filling the seats, yep, we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Now that it's no longer doing that, let's take a different look. Let's send some people to the White House to talk to President Trump to see if we have some common ground. They actually did that, to talk to the president to see what we could do differently. Well, here's the thing. DEI is dead. There's no reviving it. And you can talk about it on The View as much as you want. Whoopi, you can tap both hands. You can tap a knee. You can tap Sonny on the back. It's not coming back, girlfriend. It's just gone. It's over. Let it go.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they didn't finish there. So then these I don't even know what to call them, crows, they're so negative, they're so miserable. They started talking about a White House proposal aimed at persuading people to marry and have children. So again, according to this proposal that has been pitched to the White House advisors, is a $5,000 baby bonus to every American mother after she gives birth. So, I mean, this is what apparently is the White House and President Trump is mulling over doing for Americans to promote people to have more kids, promote families. Well, The View heard about this, and this is their response. This is clip 10.
So as birth rates continue to decline in America, the White House is looking into offering $5,000 cash bonuses, expanded access to IVF, along with other incentives for women to have more babies.
Why?
And, okay. I am incredibly insulted by this because clearly they don't know how women's bodies work, and they don't know what it costs to raise a child or just have a child. And $5,000? I don't know what $5,000 is supposed to do. And it's not even $5,000 because you have to cut it in half because you got to pay taxes on it.
Yeah.
So they're offering you $2,500 to have a baby. Now, don't forget about all the stuff they've cut.
Yeah. We have
That you need. Yes, you have a list.
Yeah.
So I'm supposed to say to you all, and are you ready for this?
Yeah.
What do you think of this proposal?
I want to reframe the issue a little bit, because when I look at something like this, these proposals, I want to know why, and I want to know who's making them. And so when I looked into that, they're saying that the U.S. birth rate is declining. However, in 2024, there was a 1% increase in U.S. births. But that increase was with Hispanic mothers and Asian mothers. So they don't seem to be concerned about that increase. They seem to be more concerned about a decrease in other populations.
Say it.
No, I think I said enough.
It's not based on that.
And so, well, it's just based on a study. And so the other thing
But have they said that anywhere? I mean, I feel like it have to be fair.
It's just fair to hope. It's just a.
Have they said that this is to target only white families?
Oh, I didn't say that.
You have to read between the lines.
I just gave the stats.
They're not going to say it.
It's about economics. They're wanting people to pay in.
I'm just giving facts.
No, you're not. You're not giving facts. What you said didn't even make sense. Shelley, what are your thoughts there?
Okay, here we go again. I hate to say it. I just got to call her the former federal fuck up. Okay. She said 2024 had a 1% increase, but that does not take into account the years prior when there has been a consistent decline in the fertility rate and birth rate for American women. So that 1% increase, which is good, thankfully, but Sonny, dear, there were decades where the decrease. So we're still in the negative, okay? I don't know why this stuff is so difficult for her. Again, I don't have a JD, okay? Oh my gosh, she gets me on my nerves. She's so damn fucked up. That's number one. Number two, the proposal is basically for there to be some type of, I'm going to say, insurance, employer-based insurance, just like many companies were forced to have employer-based abortion insurance if you wanted to have an abortion. But the women and the families who wanted to have a baby, and maybe they were struggling for whatever reason, whether or not you believe in IVF, they were struggling to do so, particularly financially, via the IVF methods. So this is an incentive, if you will, or an assist for them to do so. Granted, there's always adoption. I shouldn't say always, but there is an adoption option for many people or some people to choose from. But they distorted. I don't even know how she made this into, I'm going to say, quote unquote, race. You know, I always say there's only one race. But how she made this into a racial issue, you know what I think she was seeing? I think she was seeing some lines of cocaine that she may have sniffed way back in her days when she was in law school. Those are the lines I think she saw.
Yeah, this woman is insane. She is insane. Nicole, what about what Whoopi said about $5,000, as if $5,000 is enough to raise a baby? Nobody's trying to raise a whole baby, a whole child to the 18.
First of all, $5,000 buys almost 17,000 diapers, right? Almost 17,000 diapers. Diapers are wickedly expensive. You know, if you've been a mom, you know that diapers and formula cost a ton of money. And this $5,000, if you're married and having a baby, is much, much more than the $0 that you get now if you're married and having a baby. Now, I know Whoopi's very, very wealthy, so $5,000 is loose pocket change to her, but to young families who are just starting out, that $5,000 means dad probably gets to stay home from work a few more weeks with the baby. It means that all the bills get paid up, so you get a little bit of cushion for your family. Things like this that she doesn't understand, because when her daughter was having a baby, grandma was already wealthy. So she didn't have to go to Target and try to decide, are we getting Huggies today or are we getting Target brand? Target brand absorbs just as good, ladies. Get the Target brand. Make your $5,000 stretch, right? It is horrible that they're trying to make this into some Johnny-come-lately policy. President Trump actually ran on this policy. This is the same policy that J.D. Vance talked about in that debate where he ate up Tim Walz. He talked about this, making sure that Americans who want to have a baby can. Sonny talked about that study. The study did not say whether or not this uptick, this 1% uptick, was in people who belong in the United States, or was this 1% uptick in illegal people having babies in the United States? She always leaves off those little, truth points. Shelley's right with her alliteration. This woman doesn't ever get it right. She's always trying to make something race baity. She's always bringing ugly and death into everything that she says. I don't know how people watch that show. I just don't. I don't know how you can sit there and watch that for an hour.
Right. And because they're woke. These women are the real definition of woke. And this is what CNN was talking about, I believe, just last night. They were having a debate on what is DEI and what is woke. And we're going to settle this once and for all tonight. This is clip 12. Take a look.
It's about making sure that there is white supremacy in this country. And if we're honest, we will say that. It is about making sure we will make sure that people who DEI is really all these cold words. You used to use woke. I asked you to define what woke meant. You couldn't really define it for me. Tell me what it means again.
Woke ideology is taking extreme views of American culture and trying to tear down America from the inside out and go outside
so
of our
let me ask you-
cultural norms
but
and
what is-
invade
but
every
what is-
corporation,
okay,
university,
what is
and
DEI?
other institutions.
What is DEI?
That's incorrect, but-
Tell me that's incorrect. But what is DEI? Tell me
DEI,
again. Because it
diversity,
looks like,
equity, and
but
inclusion,
it
trying
looks
to
like- it looks
guarantee
like
outcomes
every
instead of
single
guarantee
person in
opportunity.
Trump's cabinet looks like DEI. I want to take us off the real quick.
If I do want us to not get off the rails because
Well, she just said we're all white supremacists. We gotta address this, don't we?
Saying a whole swath of voters and saying they voted because they're racist or misogynist, not
I didn't
because
say. Either
their
way, those weren't my
pocketbook.
words, yours. But go ahead.
Okay, but
you
they're
said it
voting
was
because
about
of their
white supremacy.
pocketbook
I
and their
said it
economic-
was about
Democrats
white
will
supremacy.
keep losing
I didn't
if they
say
do
that
that.
all the voters were white supremacists, but it's not about eggs. She said it was about pocketbook issues. It's not about pocketbook
You
issues.
don't think people
And you
were
have
at
to
all
be-
motivated by the state of the
Of
economy?
course
the cost
they
of living,
were.
and
I
cost of housing?
absolutely. But yes, and you're smart enough to know yes, and yes,
But-
they were upset
and
about
then-
pocketbook
You-
issues,
are you- I'm
and they're
telling
also
you.
upset
Okay,
about
so-
what people are.
They do have an opportunity, but we're treated to sort of similar comments to what Kerry made tonight about race, white supremacy, all of Trump's ideology and people and voters and everything. It's all about white supremacy. This was rejected in the election. Democrats ran this was the animating thing of the Harris campaign, and it was rejected.
Okay.
Was it?
And I am constantly
Okay.
shocked at what you're not aware of, which is Donald Trump's
constantly shocked
performance.
with what you're not aware
Wait,
of.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was. We aware because we won. You're not aware, and you still not aware, and you don't even know why you lost. All right, so let's get into this for once and for all. What is woke? Or at least what do you think is woke? And I want you guys to sound off in the chat as well. What do you believe is woke? All right, I want to start off with you, Nicole. What do you believe woke is?
Woke used to mean way back in the day, awareness, situational awareness, right? So if you saw something that you felt like was unjust or something that needed attention called to it, people would say, stay woke, right? This guy down the street, stay right. But nowadays, when people say woke, when we hear the word woke, it is absolutely connected to uber liberal, super progressive policies that absolutely are not woke. These are people who are definitely trying to impact our culture in a way that is regressive and not progressive, but they do it under the name of woke.
All right. Yeah, Shelley, what's your definition of woke?
I'm sorry, everybody. First, I came up with a definition. I came up with an acronym for woke and DEI. But before I say that, I have a fashion faux pas for, is it Abby? She's doing something I absolutely hate, and I noticed it because I hate it. She's wearing lighter color shoes than her outfit.
The white shoes and the dark green. I saw that. I wasn't going to say nothing until the behind the scenes, right?
I can't. I hate that. So I kind of, my eyes were kind of drawn there. But nevertheless, here's my acronym. I wrote it down. Woke, wickedness obscured while kindling evil. That's woke. Wickedness obscured while kindling evil. That's woke. And then for DEI, denigrating everyone's intelligence. Just denigrating, making people think that they are ignorant, or having them thinking like, am I really thinking this, or am I denigrating everyone's intelligence, making them think that this facade over here is the actual real deal when it's not. So those are my acronyms I came up with. Ultimately, woke, you're right, Nicole. It used to be, being aware, not having your nose go up in the clouds or buried in the sand, your head buried in the sand. But today, like everything the left does, it corrupts it. It corrupts language. It corrupts meanings. It corrupts just anything its hands touch. So therefore, we need to be, again, still the unwoke, if you will, or certainly we need to be ready to push back on these types of biddies and all of their foolishness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Agreed.
I agree with both of you. I'll take it a step further. To me, wokeness for 2025, within the last 5 years, or I'll say 10 years or so, is connected to critical race theory. So it's the idea that everything in society, the main institutions, the foundations of society are currently and intentionally there to oppress us. When I say us, to oppress the minority, to oppress, everybody other than white people. And then also it includes where it's the idea that every gap in performance is largely based on that. So oppression exists, and these oppressed groups are there because of the institutionalized or systemic racism within them. That's what. And so any outcome that is not based on the makeup of that group, of these minority groups, if it's not that, so like disparate impacts and stuff, they say is due to racism. And so we know that this all stems from critical race theory. So I have it here, Richard Delgado, who was coined sort of like the father or the founder of critical race theory. He claimed that racism is every day, everywhere, and that apparently neutral systems like standardized testing are actually structured primarily to benefit dominant groups. That is woke. It's, again, this idea that everything we do, we interact with, we see should be viewed through the lens of race.
Race, right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, we always talk about these Ibram X. Kendi types. He's pushed this critical race theory and sort of like those same things, saying IQ tests and all of these things are geared towards whiteness. All that language is woke.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. I think, you remember probably maybe like 4 years ago when we first started seeing people kind of push back about critical race theory. I think that's really when Democrats really doubled down on that kind of agenda with all the DEI and all of that. It got really, really intense for a while. And I'm so glad that President Trump has kind of put a halt to this whole thing because, everybody wants everyone else to have a fair shot at a job. It should be based on merit. You work hard, you're up on time, you're appropriately dressed for the situation. You should not have to take a back seat to somebody who's late all the time, is not ready to work, leaves early, kind of half does the job. That person and you should not be on the same playing field when it comes time for promotion or pay raises and stuff, just because he may be in a wheelchair. Do you know what I mean? We have to get beyond the point of giving bonus points for people based on things that they can't change and we can't change. I think being based on merit makes it even for everybody. You want a pay raise? Work hard. And that's what you get, right? Hopefully, if not, go to another company that's going to benefit you. But we can no longer just kind of look past people who do all the right things the right way, and all the bonuses are handed out to people who just can't get themselves together. I just think it's unfair. Uniquely unfair.
I 100% agree. Yeah. And you mentioned President Trump. I was doing an interview yesterday and they asked me what did I think was like, why did I think it was so important for President Trump to be elected? And to me, it was because of this. He is sort of like, he has ushered in the end to this racial essentialism, this racial idolatry that we talk about a lot on this show. And not only that, but he's kind of shifting the culture right now. And this is why it's important. I mean, a lot of times I know people say all politics are local, which is true. Well, we really needed President Trump to win this election because we can see now that his posture, not just in America, but also is having an effect on the world stage. So when we started, with these deportations and kicking out, illegals, they're doing this now in other countries. I know in Trinidad, when President Trump came into office, now they are also saying we got to get these illegals out of here. But over the last 4 years, because the posture of the United States was this open border policy, then the world, it was like an open border world. Many of these other countries were following our lead. So in the same way, I feel like the same thing is happening with this whole woke DEI stuff like that. At least I hope so.
I hope so too, because it really is having an effect on our nation. So
yes, it is. All right, so we have a super chatter here. All right, Lightbearer 32 with the $5 super chat says woke originally meant knowledge of self. That's what you said, Nicole. Knowing about your inner health, purpose, and strength. Knowing where you came from and succeeding in spite of it. It sure did.
Amen.
Yeah. Josh Winston with the $10 super chat. Yes, says this new Democrat tactic of cursing and acting in a completely undignified way is completely inauthentic and so cringe. Moderate voters will run for the hills. Let them keep doing it.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, folks. So that does it for us tonight. We are at the end of our time. I can't believe it's Wednesday already. We will be back this weekend. So certainly check us out for our weekend show and hit that subscribe button. Again, I will be back on tomorrow night on Christian Conservative. So definitely go over there to YouTube. If you are a person of faith, this is the place for you at KJ Christian Conservative. That's tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Then on Saturday, we have Just the Guys. So that is at Just the Guys podcast on Saturday at 6:30 p.m. They give you a conservative take from a male perspective. Yes, indeed. And then all the All-American Talk Show. They were on yesterday, but you can catch the rerun at All-American Talk. Yes, indeed, right there on YouTube at All American Talk. So we got something for everybody here. We're all part of the Metro Conservative Media Group right here on YouTube. So certainly check us out. So much to cover. So final thoughts, ladies, just before we leave. I'll start with you, Nicole. Any final thoughts for the folks?
Yes, and this is a fairly serious one. At least here in Maryland, the weather is getting much, much warmer, and we are seeing people out on their motorcycles. So I'm just going to ask motorists to be a little bit more kind, a little bit more patient with these people on motorcycles. Remember, they may be doing something that we don't necessarily like, but we've got a ton of metal around us, and they've got likely on a leather jacket. There was a terrible crash on my way coming home tonight where they shut down the highway in both directions. And that means something to people who do healthcare. So we know how that ended. And I recently had a friend that was, horribly injured on his motorcycle. So as we get into the season, let's be kind, pay good attention, and just remember that's somebody on that bike. It could be someone's father, kid, whatever it is. If we could be just a little nicer on the road, that would be great.
Yes, indeed. Shelley, final thoughts.
And while you're being nice and kind on the highways and byways, I want to remind you to stand up, strap up, show up, and speak up.
Yes,
and if need be a good Samaritan and help scoops up somebody off the damn highway after they didn't hit somebody else too. So I don't want that to happen, but if you need to be a good Samaritan and do that, then do that too. But that's it, everybody. Happy birthday, Trays, again. Yes.
Happy birthday, Trays.
Happy birthday, Trey. Enjoy your week and the weekend. That's how I'll end it on. I mean, folks, it is starting to get warmer here in Maryland and, across the East Coast. I am so looking forward for the summertime. Get out and enjoy the weather. Get some vitamin D, some sun. It does a body good. It's really good for not only your mental health, but your physical health. So get out there and just take a walk or just go out and just stand out in front of your door, whatever you can do, just do it and get out there and meet people, talk to people. As Shelley always says, real life, real time, real people. Yes, indeed. All right. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night, y'all.